Good evening. My name is Juan Villela, and this is my action research project. Introduction. The focus of my study was to determine if in-class instruction will have a higher increase in student achievement than online instruction for Unit 5 Geometry. The basis of my interest in this topic was due to the fact that parents are given the freedom to decide if their child will be in an online or in-class instruction setting. Thus, would this have a positive or negative impact on their child's academic achievement? Secondly, it's likely that parents will be given the option to have their child do online or in-class instruction next school year. Thus, I wanted to compare both data to give a better accurate in student achievement when parents will decide on this decision. It is important to note that this should not be a factor if a student should attend school or not. We are currently in a pandemic and parents and students' lives are at risk. We as teachers would do our very best for every student to be given the opportunity to learn to their potential regardless of the school setting. Background. The study was conducted in asynchronous teaching from January 27 to February 26. It is asynchronous instruction and thus students are given the option to decide if they will prefer remote or online instruction. Remote instruction is a face-to-face class in which quality feedback, guidance, and support can be given in an instant. Online instruction is developed with the intention for fully online delivery. Students are given autonomy to use multiple tools through peer decks such as highlighters, multicolor pens, text bars, and much more through the lesson. Descriptions. Students in this study are enrolled at IDEA San Benito as 7th grade scholars. IDEA San Benito is a charter school located in the Rio Grande Valley, Texas. As of 2017, 48% of students at IDEA San Benito achieved a proficiency in math, and 49% achieved a proficiency in reading language, with 93% of the student body being classified as a minority group, Hispanics. Currently, there are 140 students enrolled as 7th graders, and out of 140 students, 40 students chose in-class instructions and the rest online instructions. For this study, I focused on my homeroom that contains 33 students. All 10 students from in-class instruction were chosen, and 10 students online were chosen at random. My action plan. The end goal of the action plan was to improve student achievement from their pre-assessment regardless of the instruction setting. The end goal was to obtain 90-60-30, meaning 90% of students were at approaching level, 60% of students were at meets level, and 30% of students were at a master level. The action plan consisted of ongoing feedback through a pre-assessment that was done on December 17, 2020, focus groups, ongoing feedback, due nows, exit tickets, bi-weekly assessment that was done February 10th, and a Unit 5 assessment February 19, 2021. This is an example of my action plan for the month of February 2021. As you can see, on February 10th, we took our Unit 5 exam, and on February 19th, we took our Unit 5 exam. Now, data collection and analysis. I broke down this into three parts: the pre-assessment, bi-weekly assessment, and post-assessment. For our pre-assessment, students were given a pre-assessment before their winter vacation. The assessment took place on December 17, 2020 at IDEA San Benito. The pre-assessment focuses on 7.11c, 7.9c, 7.9d, 7.9a, 7.9b, and 7.5c of the TEKS. Now, students were allowed to take the assessment online or in class. Out of 20 students, only 4 students passed their pre-assessment, 3 remote learning students, and 1 online student. For a bi-weekly assessment, students were given a bi-weekly assessment on February 10, 2021. The bi-weekly assessment focused on 7.11c, 7.9c, and 7.9d to establish the foundation for the next coming TEKS. Now, 5 out of 10 remote students passed their bi-weekly assessment. 5 out of 10 online students passed their bi-weekly assessment. And finally, for our post-assessments, students were given the Unit 5 post-assessment on February 19, 2021. The post-assessment focused on 7.11c, 7.9d, and 7.9b. Students in remote learning took the assessment on paper and pencil, and students in online learning took the assessment on Peer Deck. Prior to taking the post-assessment, I did a quick content validity test. An Excel sheet was created for the teachers to input a yes or a no if they believed the item was relevant to the content. Teacher Alanis and Polido said no for item A because it asked students the name of a three-dimensional figure, and referring back to the TICs, none asked students to identify a three-dimensional figure, therefore item A was removed. In conclusion, the assessment had 8 acceptable items out of 9, with 7 agreements and a score of 0.88 SCVI. Therefore, the assessment is reliable. For my data collection analysis, as you can see in the upper top left corner, we have our remote learning students' names, and in the bottom left corner, we have our online learning student names with their pre-assessment score, bi-weekly assessment score, and their Unit 5 assessment score. Next, I broke down this into a pass or fail for the bi-weekly and Unit 5 assessment for both remote and online learning. I then calculated a chi-square test. Our step 1 was to examine the data. A close examination of the frequency table count seems to suggest that more students with remote learning pass than online learning. Step 2 was to conduct a research question and hypothesis. My research question was, is there a significant relationship between student learning setting and results? Step 3 was to do the degree of freedom and critical value. Step 4, I computed the expectancy frequency. Step 5, I computed the chi-square value, which came out to 1.25, which is less than our critical value, that is 3.84. Our step 6 was to decide whether or not to reject the null hypothesis. Therefore, the obtained chi-square value, 1.25, is less than the critical value when df1 at alpha 0.05. I have concluded not to reject the null hypothesis, therefore there is no significant relationship between a classroom setting and test results. And step 7 was to make an education decision. By using the chi-square analysis reveals that there is no significant relationship between a classroom setting and test results, meaning the classroom learning setting should not intervene with student test results. My conclusion. Full transparency, I came into this project thinking that students in a remote learning environment will be exceeding expectations than online students. After a close observation of the students who partake in this project, I found a few important factors. These students were logging into class on time, participating on the ongoing feedback given by their teachers and their peers, and were consistently doing practice problems at home. Secondly, due to the action plan created, students were receiving ongoing feedback through their due nows, exit tickets, focus groups, and from master students. Because of their vulnerability to learn from others and their participation in these formative assessments, I believe it assisted them to do well on their Unit 5 assessment. My next steps are to continue with the same strategies that was done for Unit 5. I have found that the more participation I have from students, the better the student achievement scores would be. Of course, there are the exceptions where students are not logging in or participating in class. However, I believe because of this research, if students were to play their part, then their student achievement would be a lot better. In conclusion, the learning setting that parents and students choose should not reflect on students' performance. However, if students are not participating or logging in, then it's recommended for in-class instruction.